Hi, so this is my first video of the year, and I was interviewing Elizabeth. Elizabeth is from Poland. She is an amazing lady that I met on LinkedIn again, and she has created the return of investment calculator that calculates what the monetary value of what the assistant does to support the executive is. Many assistants that I talk to when I'm mentoring young assistants, they like using this word, which I don't like, which is the word just. And they say, I am just doing this and I am just doing that. And the problem with when you do not know the value of what you're doing is you risk quite a lot of times being underpaid, because if you don't know your value, nobody's going to know your value and nobody's going to care about your value. You have to actually tell yourself, for the longest time, I was underpaid because I did not even know my value and I could not even negotiate something because whatever I was given, I felt, oh, okay, so if they think that's what I'm worth, that's what I'm worth. Now I know what I'm worth. So it's different. And this kind of confidence comes from seeing numbers. And it would be good if assistants, as many as possible, can actually just go and try this tool, see what kind of what you should be asking for, and actually know your value. Be with numbers that are there, facts that are there. You get to know how many hours you use on something. You get to know what the value of that in real currency is. And then you can use this as a tool for negotiation for pay rises. And you can use this as a tool for negotiation for even just changing your career path. So I look forward to you hearing what we have to say. And thank you very much. Bye. Compute. All right. So, hi, Elizabeth.
Hello, Mercy.
Happy 2026. You are
Hap-
actually my first interview in 2026.
Oh, I feel honored, and thank you so much for your invitation.
Thank you for agreeing. This interview, viewers, has been coming for quite a while. I first contacted Elizabeth through LinkedIn because she posts quite a lot. She has really information that I find interesting and I find useful in my day to day. So I contacted her because I thought it would be super cool for us to talk about a tool which she's going to explain to us later. And then we tried having this, and then we were not able to have the call before because we're both preparing to be speakers somewhere. And then finally we met. And I think when I met you, I did not realize that one, I have never seen you in person. So I felt like I know you so much. And then I meet you and I'm like, huh, she's different from. But I did not realize that I had never met you in person. The power of social media.
Yes, I remember. I remember, like we met in Vienna. We were
Yes,
speaking at the event, at the same
yes.
event, and I remember, Elizabeth, you are so tall. In the screen, we are the same size, and in the reality, you are tall.
It's so funny because I always assume everybody is my height, but anyway. And I am very short, so I don't know why I keep assuming everybody is my height. All right. So, Elizabeth, before we talk about this amazing tool, which is the ROI calculator, can you talk us through your journey? Who is Elizabeth? How did you become an executive assistant? What's your journey like?
Yes, it's a good question. And I'm also always curious, like when I meet assistants for the first time. This is also my first question because each journey is like so incredible, and many of times we fall into the role. And this was also my case. So it actually started with the career crossroad in 2019, At that time, I was coming from sales, and I knew I wanted to move closer to the innovation, technology, and startups. And there was one local company I had on my eye and also in my head. And so I applied there twice, and both times they rejected me. And honestly, I didn't accept that easily. And I sent them a feedback, and I asked them to review my application again because I didn't agree with their decision, because I was in my head convinced that I work there. So, and eventually, the head of sales came back to me with unexpected proposal, and he said that the CEO was actually looking for an executive assistant and asked if I would consider this. So at first, I was like a little bit surprised, but then I Googled a little bit, like, what does an executive assistant do? And suddenly everything clicked. And I realized that throughout my career, like before, I had already been doing many of those things, like coordinating different things, anticipating, organizing all my life, and supporting decisions and people. Um, so I decided to give it a try, and I can tell you that I was incredibly lucky, because my first CEO treated me like a strategic partner, not just like support, like reactive role, but a lot of anticipation. And also, the environment was demanding, fast paced, but at the same time rewarding. So that was my like aha moment, that wow, I remember thinking that if I had known earlier that this profession could be this strategic and dynamic, I would have chosen it much sooner.
So I also fell into being an assistant, and because I was also at a career crossroads. I had started in hospitality, and then I found myself accidentally an assistant, and then I ended up as an EA also accidentally. And I remember when I was approached, because I was replacing somebody who had gone on sick leave, and when I was told, "Can you step in?" I was like, okay, so what does an executive assistant do? And they looked at me, they were like, well, the same thing you are doing, except now you're doing it for the executive. And I'm like, oh, okay. I was quite lost. But then, it was really awesome. And after that, of course, then there are little bit extras that you come to learn once you're in the job. But it is one of those things that you can adapt to it if you have the right personality, because I came to realize that most of those things were things that I was doing, even though they were not part of my job. I was being that extra helpful, even though it was not part of my job. So
Yeah.
you are not just an EA, right? You created a histologist, which is an awesome website organization. Why don't you tell us about it? What gap were you seeing that made you create this?
Thank you so much for giving a spotlight for assistologist. For association is a Polish-based association for executive assistants, but also we are open to global audience, not only executive assistants, but also leaders and so on. So when I started exploring our profession more deeply, once I fell into the role, I started also learning what it is about, how to become more professional, how to do it better. It's always about, improvement and doing things better.
Yeah.
And so when I started exploring the profession more deeply, I noticed something very consistent across different, I mean, not different countries, but the whole world, that the perception problem, like it doesn't matter where we are, the perception problem is everywhere.
Mm,
And the level of recognition may vary, but globally, assistants struggle with being fully understood.
Yeah.
So we have many incredible leaders. Also, you are one of them in
Mm-hmm.
our profession, and I would say each with their own expertise and voice. Like, for example, when I think about mental health, you are the first one that comes to my mind. I would say if somebody wants to know more about mental health in executive profession, and not only, I'm like, mercy, ding ding, you know.
Yeah.
So, I would say that each leader in our profession has this, worked out a certain signature. Uh,
Mm,
and when we look for something, we always go for toward, certain leader.
yeah.
And so, like, everyone contributes something different to our profession, and I
Mhm.
learn from them. I learn from them, from you, constantly, while developing my own perspective. And the gap I wanted to fill wasn't another opinion, but I would say it was a structure.
Okay.
Because with assistologists, my goal was to create a shared language to explain what assistants already do in a way that assistants and also leaders, HR and organization can fully understand. So our signature concept is holistic partnership, and there are three layers of our work. Is operational, where
Mm,
we keep business running, tactical, which mean coordination, communication, and projects, and also strategic, where are decision we support decisions, inside. There is also culture, and we help with the direction. So once assistants can see and name these layers, then clarity will appear. And
mhm.
when the leaders see them, also perception shifts. Because I also notice myself, I do so many tasks during the day, and I can't sometimes, I couldn't name them. I couldn't even explain others what I'm doing. So that's why putting some structure on or framework what we are like doing, it helps not only us to understand and see where our energy goes, but also people from outside. So yes, so this is, I would say, the structure. And also lastly, like in Poland, there was also a very like real gap, because there was no association that was representing assistants. So that's why we're here to we are exist to turn invisible work into visible structure, and also bridge uh, Poland with the
Mhm.
mind global network.
Okay. So I absolutely love that because I'm also a member of a network here in Geneva, the Executive PA Network, and it also one of the things that the reason why it came up was because there was nowhere for the assistants to just have somewhere for them to be able to define their profession. And, sometimes it really helps when we speak for ourselves, we say who we are instead of everybody defining for us who we are. So assistance, we are still looked at more as a cost. And when you are talking, you've talked a lot about being a strategic partner. However, we are still looked at as support, and so we are a cost. And most people don't see we are not really driving the value, which is something, well, we do drive it, we're just not seen as driving it. Why do you think that is? Do you think it is coming from us? Do you think it is coming from how the structure is? What do you think? Where do you think about this?
I've been thinking of this, and also as histologist, also we have a financial controller, and it's nice to connect with different professionals just to understand sometimes business as a whole, not only like from this, crying assistant,
Yeah.
right? With no offense, of course.
Yes.
First, I want to normalize something. So,
Mm.
being labeled as a cost center, let's
Mm.
say, is a financial classification, and
Okay.
and it's not a judgment. And many essential like departments, whether this is HR, IT, sales, also CEOs, still they are cost centers, right? So it's not only assistants. So this is how the finance structure. This is how the finance structures budgets. The
Mhm.
problem starts when financial labels turn into identity labels. so
Exactly.
so because assistants, they create value
Mm.
that is often indirect.
Mm.
Like I think I mentioned the during one presentation that unlike salespeople, they have KPIs. If you sell this, you're gonna get provision and so on. So it's like really easy to measure. And in our role, we create value, but in very indirect way, and that's why it's so hard to capture. Like we deliver like indirect in the way that the crisis that never happens because we prevent it, right? Decisions are made faster. Also, this speed up many processes and also business deals many times.
Mm.
Also, leaders, they are operating at the higher level because we freed up their time, unlock
Yeah.
their potential. So instead of them doing many, organizational things, they can focus on something higher, right?
Yeah.
And also, I'm not judging if they waste this time when we freed them up or not, but we
We
know
did it. Yeah.
we help them,
Yes.
but I don't judge them, what they do with this time. And
Mm.
also with us, also teams, they functioning smoothly because we are first of all communicators and connectors. So we are bridging, different departments and absorbing, all information. So that's why our impact is indirect. That's why it's so uh, hard to measure and identify. So assistants aren't seen as a cost. I mean, because not because they lack value, but because their value isn't measured clearly.
Yeah.
So that's why. So, but I can tell you that great leaders, they already understand this and they see assistants as leverage, not the cost.
So that is
So, mhm.
that is the one thing that I really loved about going through the interviews on assistologists. Some of the interviews that you have with the CEOs and with leaders, I really loved reading their perspective of what they feel the value of an executive assistant is, because I think as an assistant, I also mentor assistants, and I've noticed one of the things that it took me really long to be able to do is to measure my impact. You know, the way you do a performance evaluation and you're supposed to do your self-evaluation. I never knew what to put in that, partly because I just felt, okay, so I booked travel. I was not the one traveling, you know, and I think it comes from we say, oh, I just did this. And the minute I removed the just from my conversations, then I started noticing, oh, okay, I did this and it's really something. And that was really good for my self-esteem.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Like if like companies, they pay us salary to do perform certain tasks. So it means that they already see value in what we are doing. That's why they pay us to do this.
Yeah.
So sometimes, it's like they we sometimes forget that, because it's so easy for us to perform and we
Hmm.
stop seeing the value. But companies, they do.
Yeah.
we have salaries, right?
We have salaries
Lower.
for a reason. Yeah.
Yes, for a reason. Otherwise, and you might be, and probably you're very good at what you're doing. That's why
Mhm.
they let you do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, from your career journey, and you've now built the assistologist, so I guess we can now talk about the main reason why we are here, which is to talk about your ROI calculator. I think this was a natural step based on just what you feel about the profession and you're wanting to add value, to show your value and to understand yourself. So, was it something that came naturally, or was there something that triggered you to want to create the ROI calculator?
Oh my God, I think it was like both. It was mixed, but not at the same time. So at first, it was kind of natural step because long before Assistologist was public, I was already tracking my work and asking how we translate, assistant impact into something tangible. Because also I faced some personal, experience where during one performance review I received the kind of answer that I kind of don't deserve more, that my salary is paid fair. And I was like, what? How can you even say things like that? So there were some triggers, and also the triggers that helped me to realize that I should do something about it. So first, first version of this return on investment calculator was just the Excel file created after after some brainstorming and thinking how can I measure my performance. And then I shared it publicly, and and then it became like a breaking point, because the response from people, from the audience, was really like amazing. And I realized that for me was something that kind of came naturally, maybe like within the time. But when I publish it, it was like breaking point, because I realized that there is no such a tool. And the response showed me that yeah, there was nothing like that, and assistants everywhere are struggling with the same issue. So this was eye-opening situation for me. And that's when the calculator stopped being personal and became necessary for everyone, every assistant, not only assistant, but also leaders and business.
Yeah. So what's interesting is as assistants, we sit and we talk. Like when we were in Vienna, we were there, we were talking with other assistants, and then we see the need. And I think this is where when I'm mentoring younger assistants, I'm telling them, you know what? Our career is not a dead-end career, because what happens is when you're inside, you see what's missing. And then depending on what you want, then you can evolve and create a niche for yourself. So you saw a need for either we either you could have sat there and accepted that they told you, okay, you're not getting more money because we feel like what you're doing, well, you've done it, or you went out and proved to them, this is what I'm doing. You figured out how to prove it to them. I saw a case where assistants were struggling mentally and people are not seeing what they're doing to make the assistants struggle. So, it became okay, I need to tell the stories of these assistants so that other people can know that their mental health is struggling. So assistants we are so diverse and we see things from such a unique perspective because we are sitting in the room with the decision makers and yet we are part of the decisions that are being made. So we really are, it's such a blessed, unique position to be in, you know? Anyway, so let's go back to the ROI calculator. You have done a bit of the testing during the Vienna conference. You did a bit of the testing. I have used it a little bit, planning to use it a little bit more. So so what happens with it? What are you planning to do with it? Are you planning to get the data and see what happens with it? Is there something that surprised you from your own results? Like when you are looking at it, because there are things that surprised me from my results. But when you did it the first time, is there something that surprised you from your results?
Yes, definitely. And also, like, I will just go back with the creation of this calculator. Like, the first version was this Excel version, and which already was like really cool. And then I teamed up with the financial controller, Marta. She's on my team as well, as histologist. And she said, Elizabeth, we have to just, a little bit change the financial logic there. And what was also interesting, the process, because we sat down for weeks or few months. I had 2, 3 months, I think, back and forward. We had meetings because also she was like showing me the business perspective, how they are measuring. And I was kind of maybe not defending, but I was strongly, like a guard, making sure that our perspective also is kind of, included. So we met in the halfway, to the point that she said, okay, now it makes sense. So also it was really like interesting, like we were educating each other about, and this also was like the first thing that surprised me, that business look at our position differently than we would like us to be perceived, right? So it's nice to was a learning process as well for me. But yes, so what surprised me, and was anything there? Yes. And what surprised me the most was how much assistant underestimate their own value. We take our work for granted, not others. We ourselves, we take for granted. Like you said at the bit, oh, I just did, travel, calendar, booked something. It's like, not everyone can do it. Like, I remember once I watched the interview, and Beyonce was upset that, she couldn't book her travel. She doesn't know how to book the travels, because since she's, little girl, everyone does things for herself, for her, right? So it's interesting that, it's for us it's easy, but not everyone can do it, properly, right? So first thing is like that we underestimate our own value, and we take our work for granted, like, scheduling, coordination, follow-ups. They feel small, but we do them really well. We do them really well. And, coordinating well, it's an art, I would say, because coordination can go really wrong sometimes, with the wrong hands, in the wrong hands. And but also the data shows that these, small tasks, that allow the business to function at all, they are so important. And they enable, decisions, stakeholders, relationship coordination, and, continuity. So assistants already generate really a great, return on investment. They just don't measure it. And so they should blame themselves, I would say, because we have to be disciplined also with our own task that we're doing.
Very
uh,
true.
so yeah, so a little bit discipline, and no one will complain. So once once you start capturing both, those small that we think that are like unimportant, to the
Mhm.
complex one, different projects, briefings, and researches, I would say the value will become really undeniable.
Okay. So what okay, so I have used the calculator, as I said, and it helped me. It really did. But before I say what I am planning to use it for this year, because there's some things that shocked me. I did not realize how much value a few things that I did were making, but now I do. But so before I say how I'm planning to use it this year, we're in January. So how I'm planning to use it this year. What was your intention with it? What do you want an assistant who's using this? What were you, when you were building it, what were you hoping that the assistants will use it for?
It's a good question, and there is no one simple answer, I would say, because and what is interesting that this tool never was about proving the worth. Like, I mean, I feel like valuable, so there is no need for me to prove anything. I know what I'm doing and what I'm delivering. Because yeah, so we are assistants are already valuable, and they have to look in the mirror or engrave on their face, and remember about this. But I would say the ROI calculator for me is about making smarter choices, and it's like the first and primary purpose is awareness, and understanding where the time, energy, and impact actually go. And the second is better conversations with leaders, HR, and also with ourselves. And the third thing is also career design, because seeing different patterns, how where our energy goes between those operational, tactical, and strategic tasks can help us, decide where I want to grow, where I like what I like to do. I know assistants who like to do those operational things and they don't have ambition to go strategic, and that's absolutely fine. But at least they recognize the pattern. They like doing this, and that's absolutely fine. So but additionally, so yes, it shows the numbers, which we
Mhm.
love, and I love to show to the leaders. But for me, most importantly is like the direction and understanding what we actually doing. And if someone asks me what I do, I can clearly, show, what I do. And also is educational tool for for people from outside, to show them what we do, and also spot different opportunity where, yeah, like I said, career design, where we can grow, and so on.
So
Hopefully I
that's
answer your
awesome.
question. Sorry.
That is awesome because that's exactly what I'm planning to use it for. I am planning to use it for career design. The thing that surprised me the most is I have always thought that I was an assistant who is very operational. And when I was putting in the information, because of course I use my Outlook as my to-do list. So when I was looking at what I do and how long I'm doing it, and then I realized that I do have quite a few things. There was a lot more things which were strategic than operational, which is something that really surprised me because I'm one of those people when I see strategic in a job description, I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be a hard job. Turns out, turns out that's what I do. So that was interesting. So for me, what I felt like I'm going to use it for is it has really helped me when I'm setting my goals. Because now, even for my training goals, even the courses that I'm taking on Coursera, for the year, I'm looking at what I'm already doing, how can I do it better? Now that I see that I'm leaning towards the strategic, I know that if I am to ask for a promotion, that is the direction I'm going. So how do I prepare myself for that? And I wouldn't have known that if I didn't have the numbers which are not numbers made by me. Because if you told me to make the numbers, I would have definitely put myself out there with operations.
Yes. No, but I'm really happy to hear this. I'm really happy to hear this. Also for myself, like just on personal note, me and my partner, that we he loves games, different strategic games and so on. And of course, he this is contagious. We live in the same home, so we play sometimes games like virtual reality. There will be product placement, sorry for that, meta quest, VR. And there is like a game that I really enjoy playing is Demio. It's Dungeons and Dragons, but this, meta quest. And he's a strategist, he's tactician and so on. And what I learned by playing those games, and also from my partner, he's sometimes, because we play with like a team, right? So we go to the battlefield, and it's turn-based game, and we choose the characters and so on. And I learned from him so much, because he was like, Elizabeth, you see, like you have, those and those skills. You have to be tactical when you are using them. It's like, look, the character that you are playing is like, you cannot use those arrows, for this monster or that monster. You have to be tactical. And we are playing as a team, so those games that sometimes people might complain, they are so educational. And from my partner, I also learned that, tactics, strategy as well. So it's really interesting how, personal life can influence your career. Yeah.
So, so the tools, we have talked a lot about how it's looking, and for me personally, I've told you how this is changing how I look at my job and my position. So, do you think these kinds of tools are the future for assistant roles? Because, there's so many assistants are out here worried about AI replacing them. I'm not worried. I'm worried that an assistant who understands AI better than I do might replace me, but I don't think AI is going to replace me. So, so I just have to make sure that I understand AI. So but do you think that this kind of tools are what we need to be able to, because, assistants, we're always talking about leveling up. Do you think this is what we need?
I would say yes. And one note about AI, what I observe also, and what I see, like the voices of the leaders, that AI was like, especially I think last 2 years, I would say, was really like buzzword, and everyone wanted to do everything with AI. But right now, I think the market is kind of choosing wisely, or choosing where actually I can apply AI. So this kind of fascination, I would say, might be a little bit over, and the businesses start assessing which tool for which task. What can I actually optimize? What can I use to have this tangible result. So it's good to understand, but also we should also still not get much obsessed about this, right? So how this tool, what about the return on investment calculator? I believe, and I hope it's gonna be like a game changer tool, and because it shows our profession fully through, because in calculator, also for those who haven't seen yet, in calculator also we use those categorization of the tasks, right? We what we have to for what we have to use calculator for logging our time, the more precise, the better results, right? The more accurate. And the calculator helps to categorize in those three layers:
Mhm.
operational, tactical, and strategic, and also measure the value we deliver to the executive we support. So I would say I wish that that the perception will shift, shift the role from reactive to more intentional. So it's not only, sometimes we're so busy during the day that we forget, so many things. I mean, first thing, we forget ourselves sometimes because we give a lot of to others, right? So hopefully, from being reactive, we become intentional in what we are doing, more aware, and pay attention to certain things. And I hope this tool will help to professionalize the work, the work we do with the framework, instead of, kind of, folklore, like do whatever you want. But it will help to, bring this, framework and professionalize. And also, it will also create kind of alignment between executive assistants, executive, and also organization,
Mm.
because it will help to understand the role and bring everyone on the same page.
Yeah.
So, and most importantly, I would say that it will change the question from, the question of the business, like uh, the question from why do we need executive assistants, will transform to the question, how are we using this role wisely? you know
Yeah.
because right now business is like, do I need, or do I you don't need? Of course you need. If you want your business to bring on different level, you need somebody, you need support, right? So the
Mhm.
question should be like, not if I need assistant, but how I'm going to use this role wisely to leverage our own company and leadership, right? So I
Mhm.
hope that that shift, this shift will define the future of this profession.
I totally, totally love that. We need to change the conversation from why do we need assistance to how do we use assistance wisely. That
Yes,
is really something that I think even the assistants themselves need to keep reminding themselves. I don't have to prove my why I'm needed. I just have to show my value. I don't have to prove. I just have to show. You know?
yes.
Okay, so the ROI calculator, it is available, right? It's already available. People can have it. Has it already been launched fully or
It's not yet, but soon, I would say. But
okay.
we are getting there.
So but if somebody subscribes to your website, they will be able to get the
Yes,
information and
absolutely.
okay,
Yes. And
great.
also, if anyone is listening or listening or watching us,
Mm-hmm.
they can always reach out to me, so I can also generate invite code if they are like in real need. So
Mm-hmm.
I can do this and give the access like for 3 months trial. So
Okay.
it's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But for the global audience, we're getting there. Just on our side, like, associations, there has to be different way of managing than
Yeah.
normal businesses. So we
Yeah.
also, I would say, making the final touches to make sure that everything will be, available. And also, as association, we also will be, I would say, performing, I would say, well.
Okay.
Okay.
So our last two questions are kind of one of those questions that there's no wrong answer. So if you as an assistant were to bill for crisis prevention, what would the invoice say?
Oh my God. One invoice or
That's a good question. One invoice per day. If you have
yeah.
one crisis per day, what would the invoice say?
So like the items on the invoice
Yeah.
would be like reputational damage,
Hmm.
priceless. I would say another would be stabbed bad decisions
Hmm.
as at the draft stage, like a thinking stage.
Yeah.
uh, Also, I would put their absorbed emotional fallout.
Oh,
So this is your topic.
oh yes. That one I can tell you every single assistant, if we were billing for that, they would not afford it. We absorb way too much
Yes.
emotional stuff.
Yes. Also, the other one that comes to my mind would be avoided last minute disasters.
Hmm.
It happens. It happens. Especially, I have to change my, travel, right? So,
Oh, yes. Yes. And I
yes,
think it's, especially now at the beginning of the year, there's quite a lot of changes. You're like, this decision was made last year. Why was this not important last year? All of a sudden, it's
yes.
an emergency this year.
Exactly. Yes. And at the very bottom, like I
Uh-huh.
mentioned at the beginning, I would write like, total due,
Yeah.
priceless,
Yeah.
or at least, seriously underpaid. No, but
Oh,
I'm
yes.
I'm also some, the perception like I will have to make a post about this one day. It's somewhere, in my drawer, in my head, that like executive assistants are still in the box of the admins. Like I
Mm.
don't mind, being categorized as an admin, but admins and we're paid as admin, like
Oh, yeah.
this clerical work.
Mm.
But in reality, we do, we touch like 20 over 20 other professions. So
Mm.
if you would kind of make the blend of those, 20 other profession, like project manager, business communication, psychologist, a travel agent, and so on, if you would pay those, if you could make the average of their
Hmm.
salaries of
Yeah.
those, other professions, I don't think it's gonna be like admin role. You
Oh,
know what
no.
I mean? The salary
Mm.
of the admin role wouldn't be
Yes.
here.
Wouldn't be where
And
it is. Yeah.
so this is something that I'm gonna make a post about this before maybe you will release this interview. But
Yeah.
this is also something that I'm like, if we would pay for actually what we are doing, it wouldn't be like admin salary, with the whole
Hmm.
respect to all administrative, professionals.
Yeah. All right. So if you have ever watched any of my videos, you can guess what my final question is. What is your superpower?
Oh, it's Friday after a week work. What's my superpower? uh, but I would say that based on, interview, like in this context, my superpower would be seeing value where others see routine,
Mm,
and helping people recognize it, because we forget, those routines, this engine that is working, nicely, it's sometimes taken for granted. And I'm really comfortable trailblazing and bringing fresh ideas, um, but what really drives me is like, empowerment of our profession. I
mhm,
love, executive assistant profession. I know that in each profession we have, good and bad players, but
mhm,
in general, I perceive myself like I can see myself and want to be also remembered like executive assistant, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the title that I would like to have. I mean, would like to. I'm also founder and president at Assistologist, right?
Yeah.
But still, executive assistant, it's such a, I really have love for this profession and help
Hmm.
and love helping assistants um, see that the value they create was always there,
Mm.
and they just need to have the structure, and I also connect dots, turn intuition into frameworks,
Yeah.
and make I would say make invisible valuable and measurable.
I think that being proud of being an executive assistant is awesome because I'm the same. I have fellow assistants who fellow EAs who they prefer to be called anything but an EA, but I think most of it is just trauma from being undervalued as an EA, so then they just don't want to be associated with it. But for me, I find that it is such, it's like being a teacher. When you're a teacher, you're bringing so much value. I remember someone once told me that that great surgeon would not have been a great surgeon if the kindergarten teacher did not teach him how to write his name. So, there's just there is so much value that is brought. And when people do not see this value, they're out here undervaluing themselves and judging themselves with, in my language, we have this saying where you're trying to measure something, but the ruler is broken.
Yeah.
So you're trying to measure yourself with standards that should not apply to you. And then you undervalue yourself because society has told you that this is who you are and you're not anything more than this, and you put the just in front of everything, and it does not really help. So thank you very much, Elizabeth.
You're very welcome, and thank you so much for having me.
Okay.